What's up, everybody? Sentry being introduced into the MCU has my nerdy brain firing on all cylinders, and I think it sneakily set up Marvel's adaptation of World War Hulk. First off, we actually have to go back a couple of months to a little movie a lot of you did not like, but don't worry, we only have to bring the credit scene with us to this movie. That is Captain America Brave New World that I'm talking about here, and I think, the reunion of Betty Ross and her father, Thunderbolt Ross, at the end of that movie, in the raft, is part of the setup. To me, they can take that and they can bring back Harrison Ford and Liv Tyler, or even just Harrison if they don't want Liv back and don't want two Red Hulks or whatever, but they can bring one or two of them back for the Avengers movie and have Doom unleash all the Hulks on 616. So it'd be Bruce, Jen, Scar, and Harrison Ford, Thaddeus Ross, but maybe Liv Tyler's Betty Ross too, but whatever. He unleashes the Hulks on Earth when he arrives. I think that's going to be the first half, or maybe even the entirety of Doomsday, leading us to Battleworld, Doom just causing chaos on 616. But that's not something he's going to do himself. He's going to use puppets in this situation, and yes, I do think Doom will bring back Rage Hulk once again. I think Marvel's heard enough bitching about Smart Hulk from the fans. He will absolutely return, and I do think it's time. I haven't necessarily bitched about it, but I have voiced my opinion that I think time's up. It was a good idea and it wasn't necessarily executed perfectly, but there were some good moments in there and it's run its course. And then to be manipulated by a Doctor Doom that looks like Tony Stark is honestly a great way to bring the Rage Hulk back. You could even make him a Baron on Battleworld. I had suggested, that the leader could be the Baron of Gamma World or the Gamma section on Battleworld, but I think it would be fascinating if Rage Hulk was instead, and you can even have him go by the Green Scar here on Battleworld. But how does Sentry fit into all of this? Well, if you don't know, Bob Sentry Void Robert and Bruce Banner are good friends in the comics, and Bob, being sidelined at the end of Thunderbolts to keep everybody safe, obviously, opens the door for that friendship to, and this is kind of unfortunate, but come about off screen so we can jump into it in Doomsday, and I do think it could work. I would use Smart Hulk one last time here as a linchpin in Bruce meeting and trying to help Bob figure out a way to balance his different sides. I know it's not ideal having that occur off screen and everything, but I do think Lewis Pullman and Mark Ruffalo could make it work. They're great actors, just like Ruffalo and ScarJo pulled it off back in 2012 with Black Widow and Hulk having the off-screen history. Same thing here. Basically, and now we're combining World War Hulk with Avengers Time Runs Out from Jonathan Hickman, but these two, they'd have their history, like I said, in Sentry. He wouldn't come off of the sidelines until he had to, likely towards the end of the movie, and I think you could even work it so that these two are fighting towards the end of Doomsday and arrive on Battleworld together. You could even do it where it's Banner and Bob. Maybe they're on one of Reed's life rafts and they're the only two on there because they were fighting there or something, but whatever. They arrive after their fight just like they do after they fight in World War Hulk. From there, and this is where I've truly got my tinfoil cap out, in all honesty, I'm not going to lie to you guys, but you can have Doom get to them first and he makes Hulk right back into the beast and takes Bob to use his Molecule Man. So I guess this would all kind of have to happen in Doomsday now that I think about it, and then Bob, he would be Doom's prisoner in Secret Wars, but you get the point. I think there's a very, very good chance, and I have no insider info, this is just kind of my gut feeling, especially after Thunderbolts, but I think there's a very good chance that Sentry is the MCU Molecule Man, because I just don't see how you introduce a character like that on top of Doctor Doom in Doomsday. I just don't see a viable way to do it. Anyway, and this final point here is more so, if this actor wants out of the MCU, but it was just kind of a side thought I had while I was getting the video ready, because he is a veteran after all. I think the Gamma section of Battleworld, or whatever you want to call it, could be a good place for Benedict Cumberbatch to hang up the sling ring and the cloak of levitation, again, if he wants to. You could make it so that Strange helps Doom, and I do think this is what they're doing actually, but just like in the Secret Wars comic in Jonathan Hickman's, where he's the sheriff of Agamotto serving alongside the God Emperor, but change it here so that Hulk kills him in a rage. Something like, he starts to get some clarity, Hulk that is. Maybe, the other heroes have come through his territory now, and he's just remembering Strange helping Doom on Earth, and he snaps. Essentially, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to rework the Illuminati's involvement in the World War Hulk comic and reroute it through Strange in the MCU because, of course, Hulk sent himself to Sakaar in universe, and that's something the Illuminati did in the book, and we're also just past the true setup. I mean, he's back on Earth with Scar for this story, so it's not going to be a one-for-one telling. Not that it ever would have been, but the main takeaway I want you taken from this video is Brave New World credit scene and Thunderbolt's Sentry bench. Those are the two big things. This final thing, it was just a little side thought. And so that's going to do it for today's video. This is one of those theories that has been, pieced together over multiple projects in the MCU, and I'm sure it's going to evolve more before Doomsday and Secret Wars, but it was just fresh in my mind after my second screening for Thunderbolt, so I had to make the video. But I want to know how you guys would adapt World War Hulk into the MCU, so drop your version of it down in the comments below and make sure you have a great day.